what you're more afraid of, what you will find.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The return of I Am Legend has reignited excitement across the film world, as the long-awaited sequel promises to bring back one of the most intense and emotionally charged stories ever told in post-apocalyptic cinema. The original movie, released years ago, left audiences stunned with its haunting portrayal of survival, isolation, and humanity's desperate battle against extinction. Now, I Am Legend 2 seeks to expand that universe, diving deeper into the mysteries of a world ravaged by a viral catastrophe. While exploring what survival truly means when hope refuses to die, the story begins in the aftermath of devastation. In a world where the boundaries between man and monster have blurred, the streets remain silent, cities overrun by decay, and nature has begun reclaiming what humanity lost. Yet beneath this haunting stillness, there are whispers of life, people scattered, hiding, adapting. The sequel takes the story in a bold new direction, building upon the emotional foundation of the first film while uncovering secrets that were left behind. It's not just a continuation, but a reimagining of what it means to live in a broken world. At the center of the story is the legacy of Dr. Robert Neville, whose struggle to find a cure became both his redemption and his curse. His sacrifices, once thought to be the final chapter, now serve as the spark for a new beginning. The world remembers Neville as a legend, a man who fought against impossible odds to save humanity. But the question now is, what if his story wasn't over? The new chapter picks up years later, exploring the consequences of his work and the choices he made. His name lives on not just as a myth, but as a message of hope and warning for the survivors who came after him. The tone of the sequel is darker, more reflective, and deeply emotional. It delves into how humanity has evolved or devolved since the fall. The infected, once feared as monsters, have begun to change. They are no longer mindless creatures driven purely by rage and hunger. They've started to adapt, communicate, and form their own kind of civilization. This evolution challenges everything humanity believed about them and forces the survivors to question who the real monsters are. The moral lines that once seemed so clear begin to blur, setting the stage for a powerful and thought-provoking story. Visually, the movie expands the scope of the first film. The ruins of New York City, once the backdrop of isolation, now stand as monuments of the past. Nature has completely taken over skyscrapers covered in vines, rivers running through empty streets, and the echoes of a forgotten civilization. The filmmakers bring this world to life with breathtaking realism, combining beauty and desolation in a way that feels both haunting and poetic. The silence of the world becomes a character of its own, reminding us of everything that was lost and everything still worth saving. The heart of the film lies in its exploration of humanity's resilience. It's a story not just about survival, but about what comes after survival, how people rebuild trust, community, and identity when everything familiar is gone. The survivors in I Am Legend 2 are different from those of the past. They've grown up in the ruins, knowing only the aftermath, and their understanding of the world is shaped by the myths and mistakes of the generation before them. The contrast between those who still cling to the memory of the old world and those who've adapted to the new one becomes one of the film's most compelling themes. One of the most intriguing elements of the sequel is how it reframes the events of the original. It acknowledges the alternate ending where Neville survives, version that changes the meaning of his sacrifice and gives the sequel room to build upon his legacy. That decision opens the door for reflection and growth, allowing his character's journey to continue in ways that challenge both him and the audience. His survival isn't just physical, it's emotional and philosophical. He becomes a symbol of the enduring fight to understand the balance between science, morality, and faith. The tension in the story builds as humanity and the evolved infected find themselves on a collision course. The infected are no longer just enemies, they are organized, intelligent, and capable of emotion. This creates a complex dynamic where both sides see themselves as the rightful inheritors of the earth. The sequel doesn't rely solely on fear or violence. It thrives on moral conflict, empathy, and the haunting realization that perhaps the end of humanity was never the end at all. It's a struggle for coexistence, for meaning, and for redemption in a world where survival has become the ultimate test of character. The emotional depth of I Am Legend 2 comes from its portrayal of loneliness, guilt, and hope. Characters carry the burden of what humanity once was and the guilt of what it became. Every encounter feels heavy with history, every decision a reminder of what's at stake. Yet even in the midst of despair, the film finds moments of beauty, the sound of laughter in an abandoned city, the flicker of light in a dark tunnel, the small acts of kindness that prove the human spirit endures. It's a movie that doesn't just thrill, it makes you feel, think, and remember. The action sequences are more intense and grounded, focusing on realism and emotional stakes rather than spectacle. Each confrontation feels personal, driven by fear, necessity, or desperation. Whether it's a chase through overgrown ruins or a standoff under flickering streetlights, the film captures the raw tension of survival. The horror elements remain strong, but they serve the story's deeper message, that true terror isn't just in the creatures outside. It's in the fear of losing what makes us human. As the story progresses, it becomes clear that I Am Legend 2 isn't just about one man's journey, it's about humanity's second chance. The world may have ended once, but this time, it has an opportunity to begin again, differently. The survivors face a choice: rebuild the old world that led to their downfall or embrace a new one that learns from the past. That central dilemma drives the narrative to a powerful conclusion, forcing every character to confront their beliefs about what it means to be alive in a world reborn from ashes. The film's tone is a masterful balance of tension and emotion. The quiet moments speak volumes: empty buildings, faded billboards, and the distant sound of nature reclaiming everything humans once controlled. The soundtrack mirrors this beautifully, blending haunting melodies with moments of silence that allow the audience to breathe in the world's atmosphere. The pacing gives space for reflection, making every revelation and every heartbreak hit harder. One of the most striking aspects of the movie is how it portrays evolution, not just biological, but emotional and moral. The infected, once seen as monsters, now become a mirror to humanity's flaws. They show emotion, loyalty, and intelligence, challenging the notion that humanity was ever as superior as it believed. This shift turns the narrative from a simple survival story into a philosophical journey. The title I Am Legend takes on new meaning once again, suggesting that legends aren't about heroes or monsters. They're about the stories that survive after everything else fades away. The chemistry between the characters adds layers to the tension and heart of the story. Every interaction carries weight, every alliance feels fragile, and every betrayal leaves a scar. The relationships in this world are built on necessity and trust, both of which are constantly tested. The film explores how people cling to hope and connection even when the world around them crumbles. It's in these human moments that the story shines brightest. As the climax approaches, the boundaries between man and infected completely dissolve. What follows is a breathtaking confrontation, not just of strength but of understanding. The final act ties together themes of redemption, forgiveness, and acceptance. The conclusion delivers both closure and mystery, leaving room for audiences to question what comes next. It's not a story that ends neatly, because the world it portrays is too real and too complex for easy answers. By the time the credits roll, I Am Legend 2 leaves a lasting impression. It reminds us that legends are born not from power, but from perseverance. The film captures the essence of human resilience, the ability to endure, to adapt, and to believe even when the world seems beyond saving. It shows that hope isn't a weakness. It's the one thing that keeps humanity alive. The legacy of I Am Legend continues not just because of its action or visuals, but because of its heart. The sequel expands that legacy, turning it into a meditation on survival, morality, and evolution. It's a story that asks what defines us when the world changes beyond recognition. Are we the last survivors or the first of something new? That question lingers long after the screen fades to black. In the end, I Am Legend 2 isn't just a return to a beloved story, it's a reawakening. It captures the fear and beauty of a world starting over and the eternal struggle between destruction and rebirth. It's about finding light in darkness, meaning in loss, and strength in solitude. And just like the legend that started it all, it reminds us that, even at the edge of extinction, humanity's greatest power has always been hope. Power has always been hope.